Welcome everybody to Dr. ETV. Today I'm joined by Jessica Viera, the founder of the Rising Woman 7-figure brand that offers business mentoring, women's mental health events and podcasting, etc., etc. This is going to be a really cool conversation about business, about entrepreneurship, about mindset, about all the tools that you really need in your belt to be able to start something and obviously turn it into a success. So I want to say welcome, Jessica. How are you doing, sister?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this chat and see where it takes us.
Absolutely. I'm honored as well because it's really good to see people doing it well. And, as having watched a lot of your Instas and some of your stories, you are actually able to go from, what used to be your old life into what you're doing now, traveling the world, running your own business and helping other people do the same. So I want to start with one question. What inspired you to start your own business?
What inspired me? I think, oh gosh, it was going back like 2014. And I think before I wanted to be a business owner, I had a feeling that I wanted to be a business owner. I loved my nursing career, but I also hated authority and I hated people telling me what to do. And for me, I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to be my own personality. I wanted to be able to I'm always creative and so I just have a big mindset and I just wanted to be free. I honestly just wanted to be free. So for me, starting my own business was like a no-brainer. I also love social media. So for me, back years ago, I was like, social media was an up and coming thing. And I was like, well, how do I turn this into a business? The whole influencer thing was like years and years ago. And that was like an upcoming thing. I was like, okay, well, how do I turn this into a business? So I think years ago it was just seeing the women in Instagram like booming when Instagram first came out, and then I wanted a part of that because I felt like it was self-expression. It was just a place to kind of be and just be yourself and create a business out of it.
Super cool. Now, I know for you specialize in a lot of different things, right? So you talked about you have a unique approach to business strategy, organic marketing, which I really, really love, like actually getting attention by doing it naturally and doing it organically, which for those of you listening and watching basically means that you don't necessarily pay for traffic. You actually get people coming to you by, magnetic style marketing. I want to just check in on this thing called freedom, because this was the thing for me as well. I started as a employee, and then employee, and then after a while I was like, I would like to make my own rules. I'd like to work my own hours. I'd actually like to be my own boss. And so you have two sides to the coin, right? One is you think it's easy starting your own business. Think again, it's going to be hard work in the beginning. It's kind of like having a child, right? You have to be up at 3 a.m. changing nappies. You just don't know what's going to happen, kind of thing. But then again, on the other side, there is the freedom. So can we talk about that for a moment? For those out there that either one have their own business or want to start their own business, what would be some advice or some thoughts that you'd like to share on that topic? Because I think in today's day and age, particularly with the mandates and the stuff that's come out, that's taken away a lot of people's freedoms, I think, or choice to, to be able to do what we want. I think a lot of people are actually contemplating, how do I start my own business? What's your thoughts on that?
I think how to start your own business. And I want to talk about freedom. Like freedom is relative to everyone. Like everyone's going to have their own, I guess, idea of what freedom is to them. For me, I like to be able to have more choices in life. For me, freedom is having financial security and financial freedom. For me, being in a salary years ago as a nurse, the highest that I could potentially maybe one day earn was maybe 100K, maybe. And I would have to go and do my master's, and then I would have to try and get a manager job to be a nurse unit manager. And they're very hard to come by because the nurse unit managers don't want to give up their job because it is the highest paying job and there's not that many jobs for it. So for me, I was like, well, I'm capped. I'm literally capped. I'm drowning in debt, like literally drowning. I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I get more jobs? I can't work. I've already got 2 jobs. Do I work? What do I do? Not sleep and work. So for me, it wasn't being freedom to me wasn't being stuck in a system where I couldn't grow. And for me, personal development and growth is huge for me. Like I want opportunity. I don't want someone to tell me that I can't do what I want to do. I want to be able to take care of my mom, take care of my family. For me, it's having freedom of choice. And that's what I wanted for my life. And I didn't quite know what it looked like back then. Now, obviously, being an entrepreneur, doing this for the last few years, I can see what that looks like now. Back then, I didn't really know. And I don't think anyone really knows what freedom is when they start. They just want it. It's just a feeling of wanting to be more free. But you don't really know until you're in it and it's happening and you're like, okay, I get what this looks like now. But I think starting when you're first starting your business, I think it's looking at what type of business, number one, do you want to have? Do you want to be a coach? Do you want a service providing business? Do you want to go and open up a shop front? Do you want e-commerce? Like there's so many different avenues. So I think it's leaning into like, what do you want to do? And finding a business or building a skill set that's high income earning. So coaching, sales, copywriting, like you've got to find a high income earning skill in order to turn that into a profitable business. So I think it all starts with an idea, a thought.
Beautiful.
And then
okay, check this out. For those of you watching, comment in the chat section if you're watching live, or comment in the chat section if you're watching the recording either way, because we'd love to hear your questions. First, number one is, what does freedom mean to you? So this is the question, right? Write down the top 3 things that freedom means to you. Beautiful, Jessica. I love this. Secondly, when you understand what freedom means to you, for you, it was being able to have all the options and the choices that you just talked about. But I loved how you actually looked at your trade as an RN or as a nurse, whichever, right? And you look at that and you say, okay, well, I can't earn any more than 100 grand and I have to work myself to the ground in order to get to that point. So am I happy with that? And the answer was no. So the second question for the viewers out there could be, well, am I happy where I am? Am I capped, or am I able to continue to scale and grow? Because I love this. And the third one is, what is it that's unique to me? What is it that I love, that I could do, that I could be inspired about? And what is a skill set that I could use to grow and to continue to expand? Dude, this is so cool. If you just look at these 3 questions, there you have a really, really good starting blueprint. I'd love that. And what advice would you give to other people who either one, and I know because you've coached one of my current clients, like Dr. Dan, right? And he's like awesome, and he's I know that you know your stuff. This is why I'm so excited to have this conversation. So what advice would you give to others who are thinking about starting their own business right now?
Yeah, I think if you're thinking about it, it's good to think an idea, and you can think an idea and you can probably sit on that idea for the rest of your life. But I think if you have an idea and you feel it, there's a reason why you have the thought. There's a reason why you feel that. And I feel like that it's a huge disservice to your entire life if you ignore it. And I think that that's a special gift that somehow I have always had, even when I was in not the best places in my life. But I've always followed desire. Always follow desire. Like, what do I want from my life? Am I happy? A good question that you said before is, are you happy? Are you happy? If you're not happy and you have this idea, turn it into something. I remember when I started my women's mental health events, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to turn nothing into something. And I kept saying it. I'm like, I just don't know, but I'm going to turn this idea and this concept that I have into something. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There will always be a lesson to find in it. But maybe it's the next best thing that the entire world needs to hear. Then, like, I think in business, you can't always know the how or know how it's going to work out. There's strategy, but you're not always going to know how it works out. But if you have an idea and you feel that, I think follow it. Look, research.
I love that. I call that taking imperfect action, because if you don't take action, you're going to fail 100% of the time. If you take imperfect action, which means that you do not wait to be perfect, you take action first and then you work on it along the way. Because one of the greatest mistakes that I've seen people do, having coached thousands of people now, I'm just going to get another degree. I'm just going to be better at this. I'm just going to get some more skills. I'm just going to get some more of this. And what happens is that they're making these excuses and they never get started. And so they end up failing because they actually never got started. So what I'm hearing from you is that you do your research, study, and understand, what it is that drives you, but then take freaking action and work out the how as you go along. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you figure it out along the way. I think ask yourself, like, okay, I've got this business idea. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to launch a podcast, and maybe let's use that. Like, and you're like, okay, I want to launch a podcast and I want it to be on like mental health or something. It's like, okay, well, what do I need to do to launch the podcast? Like, what do I need to do? I need to get equipment. I need to maybe get a headset. I then maybe need a platform. I maybe need some show notes. I probably need to set up the channel. It's like, what do I need to do to make that happen? You know, and then it's about, okay, I've got the list. Let's start ticking away. And there's going to be bumps in the road, but you'll learn and you'll figure out, okay, well, that didn't work last time. How will I do it better? And that's how you build businesses. Like, I didn't know what I was doing when I first started. I made so many mistakes. I still make mistakes to this day, but I think it's like allowing yourself to make mistakes is the most powerful thing that you can do, because you'll grow a lot faster.
100%. And if you don't do anything or make mistakes, you're never going to get to where you want to go. That's the only difference between someone that is unsuccessful and successful, is that the successful person made mistakes but didn't stop. They kept on going, right? So we kept on moving, and kept on taking action. You know, we're ATMs, action taking machines.
I like that one. I've never heard of that.
Yes, we're an ATM. And what a time to be an ATM. What a time to take action. And, you know, when people are being moved out of wherever they are into, you know, I believe this is part of the Great Awakening. So, you know, we have to come back to our value systems and to do what we love either way. Now, I know you specialize in the social media side of things. What tips could you give inspiring up and coming entrepreneurs when it comes to social media and broadening their reach and improving their brand, etc.?
I think a brand, keyword brand. I think getting clear on what your brand is. Your brand is a reflection of who you are. It's everything that you are. It's your personality, it's your vibe, it's your tonality, it's the way that you speak, it's the way that you make people feel, it's the colors, like it's everything. It's the entire experience. It's your values. You said before, your values, your morals, your standards, your boundaries. Like it's literally everything that you are as a person. So if you're thinking about starting a social media presence, or you're thinking about, you know, starting a business and putting yourself on social media, the first thing I think, asking yourself, like, who am I? How am I going to express myself? And how do I want people to feel when they come to my platform? Do we want to feel people to feel inspired? Do you want like a luxury vibe? Do you want like a big fluoro yellow vibe? Like what kind of vibe do you want when people come to your page? How do you want people to feel? I think feel. Like, I think that that's a really important thing. I think when we create our social media platform, I think we try to be so many other people, and we get caught up in trying to be so many other people, rather than realizing that magnetism is who you are. Attraction marketing, magnetism marketing, curiosity marketing is actually who you are as a person. And if you can learn how to express and bring your personality and your authenticity through your social media platform, people are going to sign up with you because it's you, not because you're trying to be someone else. It's actually you. So I think if you're starting with your social media platform, the reason why you're starting a business, even like coaching, I work with a lot of coaches, really it's like who you used to be. That's who you're talking to. You're talking to your past self when you're self-expressing.
I think this is so key. And I read a book once. It's called The 5 Common Regrets of the Dying. Have you heard of that?
I have. Yes.
So cool. So she was a nurse as well, right? Bronnie War in Australia, and palliative nurse. She was caring for thousands of people at the end of their life, and always asking them before they passed over. She was asking, "What do you regret the most?" And she would take notes, and she would do this over a lot of years, right? And eventually, she got the summary of the thousands and thousands of different answers from thousands of different people. And the number one regret of thousands of people dying was, "I wish I had the courage to live a life true to me and not the life that other people expected of me." So I love how you've combined the social media presence with this unique, authentic expression of self, because I think that's really what social media needs right now. You know, we don't need any more polished, "Here I am, my life is always perfect," nor do we need someone that's complaining, because no one really wants to see that all the time. But to actually be authentic with ourselves and to recognize that that our branding is us, I think is absolutely key. And you know what? That doesn't require a lot of expertise. That just requires authenticity and being ourselves and just getting the information out there. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like a big thing is, what is the vision? Like what's the purpose here? Like everyone has a purpose, we all have a purpose, and we have a vision. And I think if you can get clear on what your brand represents, what's the purpose of the brand? What does it represent? Like, how do you want people to know you? What's the legacy that you would like to leave behind? I think
Mm.
that when you're clear on that, and I feel like one of the most powerful things is like writing. Maybe you do this as well. Like I do it all the time. I got to constantly bring myself back to like, what was the vision? You get stuck and you're like, oh, you're stuck in someone else's vision. And you're like, no, come back.
Yeah.
and um and I think writing and like just constantly bringing yourself back to like what is the purpose will allow you to be able to establish a powerful social presence and a powerful brand, because when you're clear on your vision, it's like nothing should be able to get in your way,
Mm.
because you can always just come back to self, like the thing that you wanted to do from the start.
I love that. So again, another question for the viewers out there is, what is my vision? What's the reason for me to do what I do? It's the why, yeah? The real strong emotional, spiritual reason why we do what we do. I always say if the why is big enough, all the how takes care of itself, because if we have this reason, they have this vision, you always know which direction you want to go or can go.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So the world is changing. I just want to ask you a question just off the cuff here. What do you think are some of the up and coming trends that people could, potentially look to or feel into that the world is going to be needing moving forward now?
I think what the world needs, and especially like social media, I think it needs just more people like being themselves, really. I think it just
Mm,
needs more people being themselves. I also think that it really does need people really speaking their truth and not the filtered version,
love it.
because I feel like that even just on social media, like it can become a very toxic place, and even just for yourself, like being on it. But I feel like the more that you can speak your honest truth, the more that it's going to impact people. And I think if you can get like more clear on your own boundaries and standards and morals and values and all of the things, it's going to help other people strengthen theirs, or see another perception, see another way. It's going to inspire more people, whether if you're an entrepreneur, or even like yourself, Dr. Espen, like you inspire and motivate other people. People come across your platform, and maybe people that never even knew what a boundary was, or
Mm,
like don't have them. Like I think you using your voice is going to inspire other people to think, oh, maybe I need to strengthen my boundaries. Maybe I need to work on my communication. Maybe I need to approach my relationship a little bit better, or whatever it may
mm.
be. And I think that that has an effect on making change, is when we can use our voice as an influencer. I classify myself as an influencer. There's a power of influence. I think if you can use your voice in a positive way, it will inspire change in other people.
Oh, this is good. So the question could be, how do I use my voice in a positive way, authentically being myself? I love this. And I remember once I did an interview with someone and we talked about social media, and a lot of these things came up. And I remembered a fear that I used to have, and that still creeps up from time to time. This fear of being ridiculed, this fear of prosecution, this fear of, hang on, if I speak my truth and I share myself and I'm vulnerable, because there's a huge difference between vulnerability and weakness, right?
Yeah.
Vulnerability is strength and weakness is obviously the opposite. But I remembered it came from a client of mine. I heard this at a seminar, and she was terrified of doing social media posts and lives, because she was terrified of what people would say and be ridiculed, etc. So then I heard a saying. This really changed the game for me. And it was originally Dr. John DiMartini who said, if you're not crucified, you're not on purpose. Which means that if you're speaking your truth and if you're sharing from a place of love and authenticity, and you're raising the vibration, from fear to love, what's in the lower vibration, the outdated stuff that doesn't serve you anymore, or people stuck in the lower vibration, would sometimes then, give you shit on social media or say you don't know your stuff or whatever. And then I learned this concept that when that happens, there's two ways to react, right? The first way is to say, oh my gosh, no, there it is. And so now I'm going to shrink and go back into my cave and never express myself again, which is what you don't want to do. Or two is to celebrate that notion. to celebrate the fact that you have a voice and you have been heard. And yes, not everyone's going to agree with you, but the fact that, you know, they've come back, you know, if you were honest and authentic and from this heart, and you shared something that was beautiful and, as you said, positive and with a good intention, well, when
Yes.
that feedback, that negative, whatever comes your way, you should actually celebrate, because now you're shifting the paradigm, you're raising consciousness, you're a thought leader, paradigm shifter, whatever you want to call it, because you have expressed yourself. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in regards to something like that? Because I think that's a fear that most people just need to get the F over so we can get on with speaking our truth. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And it's such a powerful conversation. And, you know, I've experienced it on both ends as the beginner, and I experience it to this day. Recently, I experienced it just the other week. And it's interesting to experience it as a beginner and also as someone that has done a lot of work on themselves. And really now I can really stand confident in what I have to say. But it's funny because I was reacted very differently between two scenarios.
Uh-huh. Do
But
tell. It happens, right? Tell us what happened.
you know, well, when I was first starting social media, and everyone will go through this, like I think it's quite normal. The fear of putting yourself out there, the fear of what will people think, the fear of people not understanding. Why are you doing this? You know, people back then, like Instagram is a big thing now, but you know, years ago, it wasn't really like a big thing where everyone was running their business on social media. So, you know, I've been judged a lot. Like, why do you share your story? Pure example. Why do you share your story? It's embarrassing. I've dated men, boys actually, we'll call them boys, and you know, that have said like, it's embarrassing. What if my mum sees that? I'm like, what if your mum does see it? Like, I don't, it's okay, you know. Or why do you take so much time to write captions? Why do you put so much effort into social media? Does anyone listening to you? Does anyone even care? Why don't you keep things personal? Like, so many different things and so many different opinions. Or why don't you go and get a corporate job? I'm like, hello, I've been a nurse for 7 years. I'm not going back, you know? And again, coming back to like desire and what you want for your life, I think when you're clear on the desires that you have of your heart and you're very clear on that, it doesn't matter if people have an opinion. They can have an opinion, but are you going to make it mean something? Because at the end of the day, if you are to take all of those opinions and you're like, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to then take it on, and you stop yourself from following desire, you'll realize you put a stop on your own pathway. And it's because of other people's opinions and judgments and criticism. So then you're actually living your life for other people, and you're actually not living your life for yourself because you're listening to what other people say.
I love that. This is
Which to
big.
me, it makes no sense. I'm not even like, if I think of all the guys that I attempted to date where my social media was not good enough, you know. And to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm making an impact. I'm sharing about women's mental health. I'm talking about things that, is very, very like open. But to me, I know that that's going to change a life. To me, I know that that's what my community needed to hear. And that was my purpose. That is my why. That is my mission. That is my vision. And for some people, it's going to be too much. But for the right people, it may change someone's life. And that's all that matters. So am I living my life for the people that have a negative opinion towards me, or am I living my life for me and for the people that are inspired and motivated, and ultimately it's making an impact for the greater good? I think that's the question.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And again, we can prepare ourselves for that. When the negative comes, we can kind of celebrate, because now we're actually having an impact in the marketplace. We're sharing a thought and something that triggered someone, which means that, you know, that's going to change their life too in a certain way. I love that. And again, it's such a big thing, you know, because well, the ultimate failure is not doing anything at all. What if we could have a world filled with people that were doing what they loved? It would just be so cool. Walking down the street and saying, this person here, oh, look at that amazing painting. Oh, wow, look at this amazing chef. Or look at that amazing, you know, artist or coach or whatever else. That we all just shine like nature. It would be so cool.
It would
I
be
love
amazing.
this.
And if I think of like back then when all that was happening and I was so caught up in other people's opinions and judgments, I would then go and seek validation from other people and then approval. I'd be like, hey, is my Instagram like okay? Like, what do you think of this post? Was it too much? And then I started like looking for other people's acceptance. And that was because of my own low self-worth and my own lack of confidence that I needed to work on. Who was I to be a business owner? Who was I to be talking about mental health? Who was I to be doing all these things? Who was I? And I think we, past experience and everything, a lot of us have those parts that we need to work on ourselves. Now I can't fast forward. If someone does say something negative about something that I have to say that's maybe controversial, that maybe shows something up for them, I just say, thank you so much. I hear you. I totally see that you're feeling this way. And I'm glad that you're able to express that to me, but I'm not going to take that on, because maybe that's something that you need to look at yourself. And maybe there's something that you need to heal if you feel that way. But thank you for telling me how you feel. This is my voice. And I'll thank them.
That. I love that. Yeah, thank them for that. I think that's just spot on. And if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching, this is really valuable stuff. I would listen to this several times if I was you. Just if your intention is to start a business, if you're starting your own business, or you want to get your voice heard, this is really important. Think about this. 200 years ago, we had slaves in our houses. And it was normal to have slaves in our houses. And those who started talking up against it, they were ridiculed. And then less than 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. And then there were some men and women standing up saying, hey, women should have equal right to vote. And those who stood up first were ridiculed. They were like, who are you? Rah, 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 rah. But they still stood for what they believed in. And now we're closer and closer to equality. So my question to those of you who are listening is, what is it that is out there now that is not in alignment with what you believe, that is not in alignment with fairness and equality? And what is it that you could be a part of shifting that is of a value to you? Because if we go back, I think it's fair to say that a lot of the things that we believe to be true in the past is not true now. So what is it now that is not true, that's not going to be true in the future? What if you could be a pioneer? What if that pioneering could be a part of your purpose, and that you could have a voice, be heard, and also earn an income by doing what you love? And I love the fact that you're doing this and you're sharing this by such a beautiful example.
Thank you so much. And yeah, everything you said is just spot on.
Think about that's crazy, hey? Less than 200 years ago. Like, what's going on? Like, that's not a long time ago, and still now we're shifting and upgrading again. So absolutely. I've got one final epic question for you. This is like my favorite question to ask. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. I want you to imagine that you're on the world stage. Okay? You're on a giant stage. And there's millions of people watching. In fact, millions of people have gathered to hear your opinion, your voice, and to receive your message. So I want to ask you, if there was this message, a message that you would share to the world, from your heart to the world, in these times, what would your message to the world be today?
Wow. I was just visualizing myself. I think my message would be to find what makes you feel truly fulfilled. Find joy and peace. Find joy and peace. So peace being, if there are things that are underneath the surface, or if there are things that you need to heal, relationships that you need to heal, past circumstances that you need to heal, don't ignore it and actually go and attend to it and figure out how you can move through it so you can become a better person. Because through healing is where we find peace, and through peace is where we find joy. And then I think if you're going to do anything in life, and if you want to start your own business and you want to go and make world impact, create world peace, or whatever that is, you've got to have good intentions behind it. It can't just be for your own selfish needs, because the universe, I believe in God, whatever you believe in, higher power, source, whatever it is, when you do something, it can't just be for your own selfish needs. It needs to be for the greater good of the universe. So the universe will give you what's good for you, but also what's good for the universe. So if you have pure intentions behind what you're doing, everything will grow from that. And your desire also sits within that. So if the desires of your heart are good for you, and you have good intentions behind it, and you also are making impact and you're doing good for the universe, everything will grow out of that. But we also need to do that through finding peace. And that also comes from healing, breaking conditioning, changing, working on parts of ourselves, changing our paradigm, something you said, Dr. Espen, changing your paradigm. Oh my gosh, we could talk a whole subject on that. That is the most powerfulest thing that you could do. Find peace and joy. Find peace and joy in your life.
Wow. It's cool. Consider that, or out of all the things that we could share, peace and joy is at the core of it. I think that's fundamentally so vital. Thank you so much, Jessica, for being here with us today. We wish you the most incredible time over there in the beautiful Indonesia that you're hanging out these days, traveling, living the incredible life. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. And where can people find out more about you if they want to learn more about your work? I know you specialize in women's mental health and social media and becoming a 7-figure entrepreneur and all these things. Where do people go?
Instagram, that's pretty much where I hang out. So just Jessica, _Viera, pretty simple. That's where I am, and that's where you can find me.
And that's where we should go to check it out as well. I love it. Thank you so much for being part of our quantum family. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Love and blessings on your path, sister.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege. Until next time. See you guys.
Bye.